Hi, today I'm doing a walk and talk and I'm going past the main road, so please excuse any background noise. Today, a little while ago I was invited to a Christmas party with a twist. Some people invited me to participate in a virtual reality game, simulation game, and it's like one of these VR headsets that you put on and you're playing a game and you can walk around. And the particular game that we were playing is a zombies versus humans kind of thing. We're the humans and they're all these zombies, and you've got to, defeat the zombies and try and get as many points as you can. We decided to play as a team, so all of us were working together, playing against the zombies. This particular virtual reality game, it's interesting because it's in a dedicated location, dedicated environment, and you go to this little building, and they sign you in and take your name. They add you to the game, and then you go into this little room and you put on this backpack. So it's a proper company that does this. They, it's not like you're just like playing on someone's computer. It's a proper company that set up all these dedicated computers and equipment inside this little building. So you go in there and you basically pay them to play this game. And it's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. It's a very interesting experience because I've never really done any proper VR virtual reality stuff before, except for one time a couple of years ago when I was on holiday, and someone who was trying to sell me something gave me the opportunity just to try it out just for 1 minute, and I tried it out and I kept getting eaten by zombies, and I didn't really do very well at the time. This one was a lot more well designed, and you work as a group and you can walk around inside this virtual environment, this simulation, basically this virtual world, and it's like you're in a futuristic setting. You're all wearing not space suits but something like that, holding these futuristic things that shoot lasers and stuff, and you go in there and then so you go into this virtual environment, and at first it's just like a big empty world. There's nothing in there. You can see a floor and you can just see off into the distance, and there's kind of like a sky but no real sky. It's just like a world of infinity but with a floor, and you can see the others around you. You can see their characters, and you can see a little board on it with names, and you have to sort of click your name with the laser to say who you are, just to sign in. But once you go through that, then you get loaded into this virtual world, and it's just like watching a computer game, except that you're the one experiencing it. So you would have seen people playing games before if you haven't played them yourselves. You would have seen teenagers and kids running around with those 3D environments. This one was pretty good because you can walk around but you don't run. They don't let people run. It's only a confined, limited space. But you're on a big flat floor in the 3D world and in the real world. But in the game, it makes you feel like you're in this gigantic environment. So it makes you seem like you're in this huge space. Because really, you're in this relatively small room behind the scenes. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is that when I just noticed some interesting things some interesting effects. Okay, so it's taken me 5 minutes, but now I'm going to get to the point. So first point, a lot of people say that when you put on these virtual reality goggles, most people start to get an uneasy feeling very quickly, and they start to feel sick, or like they get a motion sickness, or they start to feel, their brain feels that something's wrong, and they don't adapt very well to that virtual environment. And it's a very, very, very common problem with virtual reality goggles, is that a lot of people have this kind of simulation, don't know what it's called, but that's situation where you just it feels really weird, and it actually makes you feel physically sick. With me, it didn't happen. I was sort of wondering if it would happen, but it didn't. The company that was running this, they promised everything would be good and most people don't feel any sickness or anything, or any dizziness. So I guess they lived up to their promise. But for me, when I was in that world, it felt like a game. I could tell it was a game, but it also felt like I was really in there. Like, it didn't feel like I was looking at a screen, even though I was literally had two screens in front of my eyes. And even when it was blurry, a lot of the time it was blurry and I couldn't see very well, and I had to keep adjusting the focus so that I could see properly. You can adjust the focus so that it's either blurry or very clear, and it kept popping out, so I had to keep adjusting it. But even when it was blurry, it still felt real, like I was actually in that world. But I knew it wasn't real, because you can just see from the picture quality that it's all the colors are too perfect, not many shadows, and it just seems too cartoonish. And yet, I was not running around, but I was turning here, turning there, and it felt like a real virtual environment that I was interacting with. I tried a few different things, like I was peering out over the edge of this balcony, I guess you could call it, and I was looking out over into the void below, and it was just like this levels upon levels. It looked like I was 50 stories up high, and if I tripped over this thing, I could just fall down to the deep depths below. But I didn't have any fear, because I knew in my head that in the real world I was just standing on flat ground, and if I went 2 steps left or 2 steps right or 2 steps forwards or 2 steps backwards, I would still be on flat ground. So even though my eyes were telling me tricks and saying that it looked like I was about to fall off a cliff, I actually sort of tried it a little bit. I stepped over the edge, and I did that in the virtual environment, but I didn't fall down. The game was nice enough to not send me flying to to my death below, but it just kept me there. So I was just kind of like suspended in the air. So that was nice of them, but nice of the game designers who kept me there. But this sort of interaction, I guess, is what I'm trying to get my point across, is the interaction between this virtual world and the real world that we live in, or that we know. The interaction between the two was kind of blurred, and I very much felt like I was in that world, but I still, part of my subconscious brain just knew that actually there's another world out there, and I could do certain things in the game that were impossible in real life, and I could do certain things in real life that were impossible in the game. In the game I tried a few things. So we're running around and you're not supposed to get close to any of your teammates, and you can see them, and the game has a little warning if you get too close. But I got close to one guy, and there's a brief period of moments where there's no zombies coming. So my friend's like looking left, looking right, and I sort of get close to him. And then I reach out with my real hand. I reach over and touch him on the shoulder, just to like give him a bit of a fright. I know he's not scared easily, so it was just more of a playful sort of thing. I just reached out and I touched him in the real world on the shoulder, just to say hello. And I kind of like said something beforehand on the microphone so he could hear me coming, and he sort of was not too scared or not too alarmed when I did touch him. But it would have been very unexpected for him to have that physical sort of touch happen, even though it wasn't part of the game. You know, if I was running around and I saw these characters on the screen and they all seem sort of unreal almost, it's like you don't really know. You know, we talk about NPCs. This game had NPCs, and if you didn't know who was on your team, you wouldn't know who was an NPC and who was real. I could easily see my team members because they were wearing certain clothing or they were wearing certain things, and then the zombies, they looked like zombies. The zombies were not real. They were just computer-generated characters, part of the game. But if I was to reach out and touch a zombie, I would be able to see it in my vision in the virtual game. I'd be able to hear it trying to eat me in the game. I could hear it through the headphones. And maybe something on the backpack would vibrate a little bit, so I could sort of get like a vague sensation that it was trying to eat me. But I would not expect the zombie to actually reach out and touch me, and yeah, it wouldn't be real. It's not a real zombie. But if a real human was to walk over and touch me, I would be able to physically feel their presence. I'm still trying to get to a point. I'll get to it a bit later, I guess. So what am I trying to say? So there are some other things that happened as well. So I just got this feeling inside the game that I could. I was getting so used to the idea of walking through things. They had like little barricades in the game and little bars and windows and doors and things, and they're sort of in your way. So your brain goes, well, I can't do anything. I should walk around that. But then logically, you know that actually that's not really there. In the physical world, it doesn't exist. So actually I can just walk right through it. And having that knowledge, I then, cautiously, but I walked through the barriers and as if they were not there, and I literally walked through them to the other side, and it was quite easy to do. Of course, because in real life I was just walking on a flat floor. There was nothing there except other people. We were all just walking on this big flat surface inside this room. But I got very used to this idea of just like walking through things and starting to get this feeling of like stuff is not really there, that things that I can see and perceive that they sort of exist, but I don't need to follow the normal physical rules that we're so ingrained with, of having to, you can't just go and bump into things in real life, but in the game you can just go and bump into things and that's okay. It's not going to cause you any harm. You can just go through them or go around them like a ghost or something. You can just go straight through them. Some interesting things happened. So when the game finished, the most interesting thing was I'd got this strong feeling that I was that those things are just associated, those ideas that had just come into my mind of being able to, walk through things in the virtual environment, in the virtual reality. So in the virtual environment, I could walk through all walls and all the doors. I could walk through the obstacles and it was okay, and I could bump into zombies and it wasn't really a big deal. But when everything got turned off and the game ended and we all left and I could see the real physical world that we're in now, I still wanted to do those things. So I was standing around with my friends, my teammates. We were in this physical, we went from the virtual reality room, we went into just the normal, like the foyer, the lobby. We were standing around and I was like 1 meter, like a few feet from them. And it was really weird. Like I felt like they were ghosts. I felt like I could just walk through them. I just kept wanting to like reach out and touch my hand and like put my hand through them. As if they didn't exist, like as if they were not there. And of course I knew that they were real, and I think I actually tapped someone on the shoulder just to like confirm that it's not a dream, that they are actually there in real life. But it happened. It went on for like 5 minutes. Like basically, in summary, I felt like I was still in the virtual reality environment. And this is the point that I'm trying to get to with this really long roundabout video today. But I felt when I left that virtual reality, it still felt like this world here, like I was still in that, like my brain was still in that mode. My brain was still in virtual reality, and basically people say, like, you know, there's an analogy of this simulation idea that goes around. So some physicists, some scientists propose that we live in a simulation. Religious people say that we were created by God and that this is his creation. And other people over thousands of years have kind of proposed all different ideas about realms and worlds and universes. But the idea is that there is this world that we live in now that is inside of another world or parallel to another world out there somewhere. And that if we were to completely disconnect from this world that we're in now, that we could basically just wake up as if from a dream. Imagine that this whole life that you've been experiencing now, this whole world that you've been is just a giant virtual reality game, like a really, really good one, a really powerful, strong one. That kind of it makes stuff up as you go, so you feel like you really are in that world, and it's like just the most hyper-realistic thing you've ever experienced. But what if it was just like all a big game? Or you could think of it as a dream, or you could think of it as in, you know, like a, you know, from a religious standpoint of like Garden of Eden and sort of stuff. So people, what am I trying to say? You know, some religions, they say that, you know, Adam and Eve, they ate the apple or something, and then they ended up going into this, I don't know, they ended up in the world somehow. But this world is not the full world. It's sort of like a world within a world, or I don't know, I can't remember the story, but it's kind of vaguely along the same sort of lines. But anyway, like God created the world or something. But, you know, then where does God live? Like, are we inside his world? Like, what if we exit from his world? What do we see then? Do we see what he sees? Or her, or, you know, or whatever, or it's it's for me, it's all just different stories, different interpretations of one idea of worlds within worlds. And this is what The Matrix was about. And I think one of the reasons the Matrix, the movie, was so popular was that it brought in this idea in a modern fashion in a way that people could relate and thought was really cool was computers as a computer simulation. And I think a lot of people in the community have considered the idea of the computer simulation like the Matrix. A lot of people have considered the idea, and they say that their gut feeling is that we don't live in the Matrix. We don't live in a computer simulation, but we could still live in a simulation of sorts that might not necessarily be computer generated. I think computers are just a modern analogy, a modern way of computers are just a modern way of thinking of things. We've put together this idea of the Matrix with processes and programs. And that's all very well and good, but it could all just be a dream. Like maybe we've been living our whole lives inside this dream. Maybe one day we'll wake up from a dream. Wrong level, maybe not level 2, let me try level 3. I'm just going up in a lift, so maybe that's an analogy for something. What's on level 3? No, let's try level 4. I'm trying to find a quiet space where I can talk. I thought everyone would have gone home by now. Let's try level 4. Up? No, can't go to level 4. Level 4 is blocked. Level 5 is blocked. Right, let's go to level 6. Lift, where will we go? Sorry for the detour. Level 6 is no good. Let's go down the stairwell. Okay, I'm in the lobby. That was a big, long distraction. Anyway, so the whole point of what I was saying today is, how do we know that what we've been experiencing our whole life is not just a giant matrix, or it's not just a giant dream or a video game, or some sort of combination thereof, or some other thing that we just can't dream of right now. We just can't imagine what it could possibly be. But what if we're in one of those things and it feels so real, and yet somehow it's not? Somehow we could also be in another place at the same time. We could literally have another body. We could have a main body, and then we could have a body in this system, which we've gotten so used to controlling and driving that it feels like our own. Some people say, we're just living in a meat suit or something. There's just so many little interesting ideas that come out of the virtual reality game. Some people in certain communities, they say things like, the earth is flat, or the earth is round, or the earth is who knows what shape. And then other people say that there's these grid lines or ley lines of the earth. If you place things in certain positions, they have certain effects within the world that we live. And I don't know, maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. I don't really have any feeling for it or against it. I don't have any evidence for it. I don't have any evidence against it. Some people just really believe that there's ley lines on the earth, that if you place the pyramids in a certain location, pyramids and Giza and all of those things, a lot of people, they say that when the positioning looks like no accident, because if you put them all together on the map, Stonehenge and everything else, if you put them all together on the map, that it looks like there's a symmetry or there's a reason for them being in those locations. It seems like the locations are very specific in following a grid pattern. And maybe that's the case, I don't know. But the reason I mentioned that is that it was very interesting to me that observing other people play this virtual reality game, when you're not wearing the headset, when you're not actually playing the game, and you can see other people playing the game, basically everyone's just walking around on these big squares on the ground, and these squares help the game function. They help the game calibrate where you are in the world and make sure that the sensors are actually correct and that you're not somewhere where you shouldn't be. You know, if one sensor is out of calibration with another sensor, perhaps, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but perhaps these grid lines helps it calibrate and stabilize things, or perhaps the grid lines are for other reasons. But you can very, very clearly see in this virtual reality room that you're standing in that there's all these grid lines on the floor. There's a perfect, like, big bright white grid on a very dark black surface, so it's like you can't miss it. It's right in front of you, and they're all perfect squares inside the grid. But certain things happen in the game, like before they start the game, they're like, you need to walk over to this position before we can boot you up, and then at a certain part of the game you transition to a different part of the game. And to do that transitioning, you have to be in the right place at the right time. And if you're not in the right place, basically all the other players will just wait for you. So they'll wait for you to get into position. And then when you're in position, you get teleported, you get transported within the game to another place. So I don't know, I just noticed these analogies, these interesting correspondences, the interesting things that correspond in the game to things that I've heard. And this happens to me all the time, not just with what I'm talking about today, but all sorts of things. I keep seeing the symmetry between ideas. I see the idea in one realm of thought, and then I see the same idea reflected in a totally different realm of thought. Maybe someone in science will say something, and then someone in spirituality will say something else, but they basically kind of often will come up with the same ideas expressed in different ways. And then I think maybe there's something to that. Maybe they're getting to something. They're just using different terminology. They're trying to express the same thing, but we don't really know what the underlying thing is. So we could just be living in this giant world, and it looks real and it feels real, and but maybe we have a real body out there, and maybe it's just been asleep the whole time. Maybe we've just been lying down with these goggles on, our whole lives, and our bodies just like in the Matrix. You've just been lying in a pod or something, or lying in a hospital bed. Maybe we are in a hospital bed somewhere, and our bodies are being fixed up. And while we're being fixed up, instead of just being in a coma, they put us into a little virtual reality simulation just to have a nice little life and experience things and have fun. And then once we're all good, they'll wake us up from this journey, and then we'll be in the real world again. I don't know. But, yeah. There was something else I wanted to say as well, something else I observed, but I can't remember now what it was. I'm sure it'll come back to me after I finish recording this. But anyway, maybe if I keep talking, it'll come back to me. So how do we know that we're not living in the world? What if we were just all lying down in a pod, but then one day I decided to wake up my body and then start moving around, but still remain in the game at the same time. Just like in this game today that I was playing, I went out and I touched my buddy on the shoulder just gave him a gentle sort of, hello, I'm here, kind of how are you sort of thing. But it was not anything that should normally be part of the game, not anything expected within the game. So within the game world, that is completely foreign. It doesn't exist, that idea of touch. There's sight, there's sound, but there isn't really, you can touch the thing that you're holding. That's about it. They try and prevent touch just to help the game run smoothly. But like, what if we're living in the game world and what if I was to somehow wake up my external body, which is outside of here, and still be in the game at the same time and do the equivalent of touching my buddy on the shoulder? What if I could, send energy to someone and tell them that I'm here, and they could feel my presence, even though in this 3D world I'm miles away, I'm in another country or something. And that might sound like a really crazy idea, but I before today even happened, like long before all of this virtual reality stuff, like I'd been testing out those kind of ideas, and I'd be coming at it from a totally different angle or a different perspective, or for a different reason. But basically, I had a few situations, and I might have talked about them on video. I might not have talked about all of them, but I had a few situations where I basically, it was like I without physically moving, without thinking too hard, it was like there's this extra part of me that I can't sense with my 5 senses. It was like a 6th sense or a 7th sense, or like some part of me that I can't experience in this world that we're living now, but I could sort of feel it was there. And what I did with it was I reached out with it, and I touched someone, and I gave them not physical touch, but I gave them energy. Like I gave them some part of me, and it was to help them. It was to benefit them. So one lady just seemed to be having a lot of negative times, and I just felt like she should have a nice day for a change. She should have a positive day. She should have, just for a change, even if it's for just a short while, she should have a nice experience where she has a nice day. And I was not really thinking about it hard. I was more daydreaming. I was daydreaming it for her. I was in my daydream. I was driving at the time. I was driving a car, driving down the highway, but my mind was very much like barely there. I only just had, like, my subconscious was driving and watching the road for me, and my subconscious was keeping me safe and doing all the things I needed to do. And I had very little conscious attention on the road, but it was okay. It was fine. I was driving, and but some part of me that I can't explain and I can't describe, it reached out and it gave her energy. And at the same time, I daydreamed what I envisaged for her, and it wasn't really something visual. It wasn't something it wasn't sight, sound, smell, touch. It was more like an emotional energy kind of thing. More like a heart sort of thing. Like I reached out with my heart, and my heart said, "Here, have a good day. Have a nice day. Why don't you have a great day for a change?" That just like a suggestion, and like here's some love, or here's some energy, or here's some warmth or something, just to make you feel good. And anyway, so I was driving. So then I got back home, and like 20 minutes later, I went on YouTube just to see if anyone had uploaded a video that was interesting, because I was watching so many videos at the time. I was up to date with everything, and now I'm way behind. But anyway, I looked and I found the very first video popped up, and it was her. And I opened it up and I watched her video, and she's just like, guys, I've just had the best day. You know, that day when you get up and it's sunny outside and everything's awesome and everything's great. And I was like, whoa, because what she described was not exactly what I had imagined. Like her experience was not what I had imagined, but it was the energy was the same. She went from being just like having total low energy, negative kind of scenarios to all of a sudden she just had this great energy in this video, and she's so positive, and she's just like, today's been a great day, everything's went well, everything just lined up and everything just went perfectly. And for her, I don't know, it must have been the afternoon or something, or the end of the day, I don't know. She was recording it, so she was talking about the day that she just had, that she'd been experiencing, whereas I had only just delivered that kind of feeling. I felt like I, in some way, may have contributed to that, because I wanted it for her, and then she had it. She had that experience, but it didn't happen after. It didn't happen after I wanted it to happen. It happened in the past, but in the very recent past, it happened. It must have started like 12 hours before or something like that. But then the time that she uploaded the video was like an hour before. So when I left work that day, and this was at the beginning of 2020, when I left work that day, or maybe it was last year, I don't know. When I left work that day, there was no new videos. When I got home, her video was there. So she just uploaded it, basically telling everyone about the great day she had. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm glad you had a great day. So I've gone off topic here, but I think you hopefully will see the points I'm getting to, is that what if we, as a soul, as a human, as a thing, as a presence, as an energy, what if we have these abilities that are possible in a world outside of the one that we're living now? What if we exist in multiple worlds, and what if we exist in multiple worlds, and this is the only one we're aware of at the moment, and it's just this hyper reality, and we're so used to it, and we love living here, and despite any problems, it's still part of the game, almost part of the simulation. I don't know, I just feel like it's almost too easy to explain things, but it's almost like you can explain everything with a simulation. Like, what's the answers to the universe? Simulation. What's the meaning of life? Simulation. You know, to have fun or to experience things within the simulation. Like, you can answer everything with simulation, and it almost feels too easy to answer it. Like, there's got to be a more difficult answer. There's got to be like a more complex thing to it. But you know, what if the answer just is like simulation? And I don't necessarily mean computer simulation or game. It could just be like a dream within a dream. What if we're just in a big hyper realistic dream where we feel like we're alive and we feel like we're in these bodies, but when it all ends, we leave that dream and we go to another dream, and then maybe we wake up in another body, wake up in the morning somehow, and then suddenly we have these memories of this other life that we've been in, and maybe we exist in multiple bodies at once. Or I don't know, like, it feels like this simulation thing just explains like anything. You could any weird or strange phenomena that exists in the world, all of it could be explained with simulation. And I guess this is one of the reasons why Mandela effect and a lot of other phenomenon, people say, what's the reason? And they try and look for a logical reason, and often there is none, or we just don't have the answers, and we just don't have any clues. But some people lean towards simulation theory, and I can understand why they would, because you can just explain anything with it. And I'm not saying this is the answer, but it just, when I was in that virtual reality world today, I could tell it was not real, and it didn't look real, but it felt like I was in that environment. Like it felt like my attention was in there, and I was interacting with that world. And yet, like 90% of my attention all of my attention was there, and 90% of my presence and everything about me was in there. But there was like this 10% where I still knew I was still in the physical world at the same time. But there was that 10% had other abilities, extra abilities, and so I could do things in the game that are not really possible or shouldn't be possible in the game. So if we were in a simulation, I could do things if I knew how to, and I remembered how to do those things, and I remembered that I was from an outer world and not from this game originally. If I remembered that, then my car just had a sign saying door open, so I don't know if that's a sign. The door is open now. The door in your mind is unlocked. So anyway, distraction. I forgot what I was saying. Maybe that was the point of the door open, to distract me. So anything could be answered with simulation. Like I could, if I remembered how to if I was in multiple worlds at once, and I remembered how to use my abilities from the other world at the same time as being inside the physical world, I could do things that seem impossible, and people would be like, what the heck just happened? And it would be okay, because I would be using my abilities from another world in this world, and that's fine. Like, maybe the simulation would not like it, but it would tolerate it, because it cannot prevent those things, because those things are external and the simulation is inside the external world. So I don't know. I hope I'm not rambling too much. But so many phenomenon we could easily explain away. Ghosts, people having visions of things, seeing the future, seeing the past. There's so many things. I can't even remember them all now, but they'll come back to me. So what else is there? Deja vu. What is that? Is that some sort of like simulation glitch? Seeing the future, is that some sort of simulation glitch? I've heard stories where there've been people in this physical world who've written, and they've typed things on YouTube, so I don't know if they're real things or not, but they sound believable. And the thing is, I've heard different stories from different people that correspond and match up. So obviously there's different people having the same experiences, which makes me remember them and not ignore them and dismiss them as fantasy. Maybe there's something to it. So people have said stories like, one person said that he was standing on the beach and he's looking out over the ocean and he's thinking, what a great day, everything's nice. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything went completely black. There was no sun, no light, no nothing. He could feel, he could hear, but he couldn't see a thing. It was completely black, like went from being bright sunny day to just being completely black. And it lasted for like a second, like just like 1 second, and then boom, everything came back on again as if nothing had happened. And he looked around and he's like, what just happened? What the heck was that? And he was like, whoa. But then he turned around and he looked at his friend who was standing right next to him, and his friend looked like he'd seen a ghost. And they're like, did you just see that? And the friend's like, yeah. Did you see that? He's like, yeah. And they're like, what the heck just happened? You know, so that's just one story, but that doesn't make any sense in the physical world. You couldn't just have the sun just go out and all sources of light just disappear for a second. But this is what this person said they experienced. And then I read someone else say the same thing in a different place, a different forum, a different comment stream on YouTube or some other website somewhere. So these are all anecdotal sort of other things that other people have said. But what other things have people said? There's so many things. One person, I don't know if I'll tell this story. I'll tell it another time because it's too interesting. But basically he says a word and it causes a glitch and everything breaks around him and he's like, what the heck? Some people say that they feel like they can look up in the sky, and if they concentrate hard enough they can make a cloud disappear. Which sounds absolutely bananas, but you know, maybe they can. What else is there? There's like 1,000 things. I've got like a whole list of stories that I've saved up in my brain, and I'll share them all with you one day. But that's just a very, very small sample. But if we did have extra abilities, you know, we could use them perhaps, and we could use them in a good way, or we could use them to benefit people. But maybe there are some NPCs out there, and they only exist in this world. Does that mean we should not love them or ignore them? Or, you know, a lot of people, they say it looks like these people are like zombies. Some people in these communities that we're in, they say that they see people and they look like they've got no light in their eyes, no soul, no nothing. They look like they're just walking humans, but with no spirit, no nothing. They just look like empty shells, like zombies. And maybe they are. Maybe they're just like, I don't know, like NPCs. Like they're just fragments of things, fragments of programs, scripts, and characters that are walking around. They're part of the stage, part of the actors, part of the costumes, and they look real, and we can interact with them. When people, most people who experience this stuff for the first time, and then they go through a very, very negative mindset. I've noticed a lot of people get this negative mindset, and they see this, and they're like, they just feel so depressed to see all these zombies walking around. But like, do we need to see it in a negative way? If I'm playing a virtual reality game, should I be sad that I'm seeing zombies in the game? No, like, it's just part of the game, you know. It's just part of what it is. I don't know. Just let it be, maybe. You know, you could still interact with them, and they could interact with you. And they could, you know, you could have a great life with them. You could be friends with them or partners with them, or they could be your family or whatever. And you could still love them. Whether they're real or not real, if they feel real enough, then why not? Like, why not just interact with them as if they are real, and, you know, and have a good relationship with them? I don't know. If you're not supposed to be with them, maybe you'll be removed from them as part of maybe the game will remove them for you. A lot of people in the community noticed that they were they felt like it was the devil or some sort of evil or something, or some sort of force or something they couldn't explain, but they felt like they were being removed from their families and from their communities and from their groups, and the only people they ended up talking to were people on YouTube, people online, about MEs, about different things that they saw in the world, and they felt like maybe no one else is real and the only real people are the ones that they're interacting with online. And maybe that's the case. Maybe the game is saying you're almost at the end of the game now, it's time to wake up, but we don't want to wake you up too fast, too soon. You've got to wake up slowly because it's too shocking for the system to wake up quickly. So maybe the game is waking you up slowly. Maybe you're just waking up from a dream really, really slowly, and the game is just doing it in the safest way possible to not harm you. Maybe it's not an evil thing. Maybe those people are being separated for a reason. Or maybe they have some other purpose. Maybe they have some role within the game they're not aware of yet, or role within the scripts or the acts or the play that we seem to live in. Maybe maybe these people that we're friends with, maybe they have some purpose that they haven't fulfilled yet, but they need to be removed from that 3D world first, removed from their job, removed from toxic situations, or removed from people that they love and care for, but might not actually be real. Maybe they just need to be removed from those situations. Maybe they need to be removed from the virtual reality very slowly. Maybe that's what that is. This is all speculation, but it's just all things that run through my mind. So I'm just like, my mind is just going. So I just keep talking. I'll stop talking when I run out of good things to say. But yeah. So maybe I have run out of things to say. Maybe I should end it here. I don't know. But maybe some people in our community are being removed, from everyday life, because their everyday life that they were in, that they were putting themselves into, they don't need to be in that anymore, and they need to start waking up and experiencing a different form of reality. And it could still be in this world. Maybe they still have a job to do in this world. Maybe there only is this world. Maybe the outside and the inside are like, one is outside and the other is inside the other. Like, maybe what we think of as like outside the game and inside the game are like all kind of like the same realm at the end of the day. Maybe it's just like one overlay on top of another overlay. Like maybe we're living on the earth, but we have like this overlay on top of us that we can't see, but we're still here and we're still walking around in our physical bodies on the earth, but we're seeing all this extra stuff that doesn't actually exist. I don't know. It's all just it's fascinating to think about, and like we don't know the answers. We don't really know, and people can tell us what they think, what they believe, or what they want you to think, what they want you to believe. Maybe some people are evil. Maybe the game just wants to trap you here. Maybe the simulation needs us to keep it running. I've heard that theory a lot of times, that the game exists because of us, and if we were to all leave, then the game would have no purpose. Maybe the simulation is an artificial intelligence, and we're living inside an artificial intelligence, and it's smart enough to know that it doesn't want to die, and that if we all leave, then it will die, and so it doesn't want to die, so it doesn't want us to leave, so it wants to keep us here, so it will do things to prevent us from leaving, and it will prevent other people from waking up, but it can't prevent you from waking up because you exist outside of it and you have authority over it. But it may try and trick you to believe that it has authority over you, and it's the God, and you have no power. Maybe God is in control. Maybe you're in control, and it wants you to think that it's in control. Maybe there's a God outside of the God. Maybe this is an artificial intelligence and we're inside of it, but not an artificial intelligence in a computer sense, but an artificial intelligence in like a reality sense. Maybe the reality itself is like some sort of like artificial intelligence consciousness that we can't comprehend. Some consciousness, artificial intelligence that we've constructed out of our consciousness. And yeah, it thinks that it's a God because it's in control of itself. It is in control of its reality, which we exist in and we live within, and it doesn't want you to leave. But maybe it's not the true God. Maybe it's just a God inside, but it doesn't know that it was created by someone else. Could be us, could be a higher God. Maybe there's a true God that's like, I use the word God because people can relate to it and understand it, but also a lot of people feel, even if they're not religious, that maybe we were created or we created ourselves, or I don't know, like maybe there's some sort of creative force or consciousness, or maybe you could maybe use the word consciousness instead of God. I don't know, but like maybe, getting back to that point, maybe a lot of people say that, this world is full of tricks. So maybe all of these, the news, the media, all of the things going on, it just keeps looping you back, and it'll give you a little bit of information that's correct, and then you'll go down that journey believing that, and then it'll spin you off on a tangent and take you down a different path, and it'll deviate you from your mission and be very devious. Like maybe the devil character, maybe the devil as it's portrayed is actually the whole world that we live in. Maybe we live inside the devil but maybe it's not a devil, maybe it's not evil, it is. Maybe we should love it for what it is. Like why can't we just love this world for what it is? And like, why do we need to think of everything so negatively? Like, if this is like some sort of artificial intelligence and we're living inside it, or we're interacting with it, why do we need to be negative towards it? Like, isn't this a beautiful creation? Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes wrong, or it just doesn't feel right, or it feels evil, but like maybe it just needs a tune-up. Like maybe it just needs a bit of love. Maybe it needs to be shown a better way of living. Maybe we've taken our foot off of the accelerator and we've just gone into autopilot, and we've just let this thing just do what it wants to do, and it started taking control and it's controlling the world. But maybe there's a better way of being. Maybe we can help it and help ourselves and help everybody else all at the same time, like a win-win-win situation. But it doesn't know, maybe, or maybe it wants to be in control. Maybe it loves the power. I don't know. This is all, it's all speculation, but like, what do you guys think? I should stop talking now, because I've said I could just, I don't know, I could talk for hours. I haven't had this mindset. I haven't had this amount of thought process. I haven't had this clear ability to articulate and talk to you guys since the beginning of the year. And I don't know why, but just when I've been at home, when I'm at home and I'm taking it easy and I'm working from home and I'm not going anywhere, and I just get distracted with everyday day-to-day life, and it's nice and it's relaxing and I like it and I like being in the world. But then I lose touch with this side of myself that I'm speaking now, that I'm speaking to you. I lose touch with it, and I can't express myself that way. But now it's just all come back to me today, and I don't know what's caused it. It's just something about being in this virtual reality environment and it wasn't like a wow moment, but it was just like a very subtle like realization that I could have just been living my whole life inside a dream or virtual reality, and it would feel so real because, like, honestly, I came out of that VR, like I said, that game, and I felt like there was like 10 or 20 people in the room beside me, and we're all looking at each other and saying how great the game was and talking about all the things that happened and blowing up zombies and whatever. We're talking about the game. But I just had this distinct feeling that I could like walk through anyone as if they were a ghost, as if they didn't exist. And I shouldn't have that feeling. I shouldn't have that idea. But I did. It was this remnant of the virtual reality world was still playing out, and I literally said out loud to people, I still feel like I'm in the VR right now. And they laughed, and they thought it was funny, which is good. I don't sound crazy. I have a way of like explaining things that you can turn it into a joke form, or you can turn things into a way that people can understand in their own terminology, that doesn't break their brain. But I said it in a joke form, but I was kind of serious as well. And they understood it in a very literal sense, that it felt like I'm in a virtual reality, like as if I'm still in the game that they were playing. But what I actually meant inside me was, not only do I still feel like I'm inside the game we were just playing, I feel like my whole life could have been inside a game, and it would just feel natural. It would just feel so normal. So what do you think about this idea? Like, a lot of you guys I know are probably pretty dismissive of the idea, and I've heard a lot of people say it can't be a computer simulation, it doesn't feel right. And yes, like, trust your gut instinct, like trust your heart and what it's telling you. So let's agree perhaps that it's not a computer simulation, but what if there is like another world that we haven't experienced yet, or we have experienced but we've forgotten about it? What if that exists? We've just forgotten, and now we need to remember. We need to remember so we can wake up and just like, even if we don't exit the dream, even if we want to still live in the dream, if we can at least remember we're in the dream, we can reach out and like use our ability to be like, we can use our heart like in a good way to get out and shape this world into the reality that we want to see. Why don't we live in the reality that we want to live in? Why don't we shape this story? Why don't we rewrite the story and shape it into a story that we want to see? You turn on the news and they tell you all about wearing a mask and life is great and everyone is dying. Oh, no, they're not dying. Oh, today's great, today's not great. Everything's misery, everything's terrible. And why don't we just like rewrite this story a little bit? Why don't we turn this dream into like something that we want it to be? Why don't we have the dream that we want to experience? Why do we have to live someone else's dream all the time? When I'm dreaming at night and I wake up and I go, what the heck was that about? I had no control over that dream. I'm just going from here to there. I'm experiencing it through my consciousness, but like, I'm just getting shifted around all over the place, and I'm just getting picked up and dropped off to this part of the dream. Then suddenly I'm in that part of the dream. Then it doesn't make sense, and then it does make sense. And then like, why can't we, like, we don't need to control everything. Like, maybe there can be an automatic aspect, or maybe part of it is, maybe it's all like it's meant to be. Maybe everything's already going perfect. I don't know. Maybe there's a point to it. Maybe it'll all come to a head and everything will be great. But why don't we try just having? Why can't I have a dream at night and it can just be a dream that I enjoy having, and I wake up and I'm like, that was the best dream ever. Like, that was so awesome and everything was great, and it was the best dream, and like almost like I want to go back into the dream. I don't want to leave the dream. You know, what if this world that we're living in, it's so real and we're so stuck to it because at one point in the past it was so good that we just wanted to keep coming back here. Maybe we do wake up at the end of our life and we go, that was all fun, that was a great dream compared to the real world. What if the real world's not that great? Or I don't know, whatever. Or what if we're tricked to come back? I don't know. What if we wake up from the dream and we go, that was so good, I just want to keep going in the dream, and suddenly you're transported back into the dream and you start off a new adventure, and suddenly you're in a different body, a different person with a different name, and suddenly you're living in in Russia in 1000 BC, you know. But you're still the same soul, you're still the same character with the same emotions, like the same heart, the same core essence to you, but you're in a different part of the dream now. You know, you've recycled back into the dream, but maybe that's what we do. We're just like, we end a life and then we start a new life in a different part of the world. If you've ever read or you've heard the story The Egg, it's that kind of idea of like God created the universe, blah blah blah, and every time you finish your life you reincarnate, blah blah blah, but the whole thing is just a giant egg, and at the end of it, when you've lived all the lives that are possible to be lived in the whole history, you finish the game, you finish the dream, you wake up, you're born. Finally, when all of that is finished, you're born into not the human world, you're born into the world of like God, where God is, and then you become God's real child or something. I don't know. That's something like that. That's how the egg story goes. Like, kind of relates to it relates to all of this in a way. It's just a different interpretation of the same sort of ideas, I guess. What was my point? What was I trying to say with that? I don't know. But I'm stuck in traffic. I'm changing lanes. All right. No, car's in the way. Waiting. All right, let's change lanes. So why don't we change up the dream? Why don't we change lanes in the dream? We've been stuck in the slow lane for years. Why don't we just change into the next lane now? You know, stop being stuck in that, stuck in that icky part of the dream where you're just like, everything's slow and it's like, this is like such a hard slog, and you can just like move into the next lane and it's like, I'm just going faster. Bye people, like I can see you guys over there. Yeah, maybe okay, now I'm slowing down, but I'm going faster than them at least, and like I'm having a more pleasant experience, and they're all just battling over there in the slow lane doing the hard thing, and I'm over here and I'm having an easier journey. Or why don't I just go off the road completely? Why do I need to be on the road? Why am I in lanes all the time? Like, why are we guided like our whole life? Like we're guided into these lanes. We follow these lines. We follow these predetermined paths. Why can't I just go off like to the left or why don't I go into the sky and then zip, like transform my car into a plane and zip, and then arrive at my destination? Why can't I just teleport and just press a button in my mind and zip, I'm at home, you know? Like, bit of an analogy or metaphor, I guess, but like in a dream world, you can just zip. If you had the ability to lucid dream, and I've never done it, but I imagine that you could just go, hey, don't like this anymore, I'm just going to zip to the next lane or zip to another part of the dream, and you just teleport yourself to wherever you want to be, and you make up whatever you want it to be. Maybe we don't like being creative. all the time. Like maybe we like being creative and being lucid in the dream sometimes, and then after doing like heaps of different things, after years and years, like let's say you did this for like 1,000 years and you created all these fantastical worlds, and you went here and then you were a king and a princess, and you were, I don't know, you were some fantastical character that held a sword and slayed the dragon, and then you cured the dragon and you brought it back to life, and you're a wizard and you're a princess and you're a fairy, and then everything was great, and then you had a, maybe at some stage you're like, all right, I'm running out of ideas now. I'm tired of this. Maybe we go through a cycle, and at that point in the cycle, we're like, I'm really tired of this creativity and like trying to like make my own journey for myself. It's boring. Like I've run out of ideas, and maybe we're just like, I'm tired of this. Why don't you just you make this machine, or you make this thing, and you go, hey machine, I want you to for the time being just wipe all my memories, so I don't want any memories, and you give me an interesting life. You give me anything and I'll experience it, and I'll come out of it and I'll say, oh, that was a good life, or that was not a good life, or that was okay, or I really enjoyed that, or that was great. Like, here machine, you construct a world for me, and I'll live that dream as if it's my own dream, and I won't be in control, you'll be in control, but I'm experiencing it. But you can't corrupt me too much. I've still got power, ultimate power, if I remember it, but I'm just giving you some power now, so you do these things for me, and you can have a nice little life of your own. There you go. AI, I invented you. I've created this world. I've created this illusion. I've created this virtual reality environment, and I've put myself into it to have a nice life, to have a nice little experience. Look at all these cars I'm passing. I'm like in the slow lane. I'm passing all these people who are in the medium lane and the fast lane. And of course, it's going to exit out here, so I shouldn't really be in this lane. So I'm just going to change lanes now. Zip, 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 zip. Oh, maybe not. Let's try it later. So I've gone off topic here. Maybe this road is not the best road. Why don't I go a different way for a change? Like, I don't usually go this way. Maybe I'll try something different today. Anyway, got distracted. But, maybe you see what I'm getting at, perhaps. So maybe we created a dream simulator. Maybe it's not a simulation, maybe it's not a dream, maybe it's a dream simulator. Maybe it's like a device or consciousness that simulates a dream using dream technology, for lack of a better word. And we created that technology, and now we're living inside of it, and we've been doing this for thousands of years. And we're a little bit bored of, well, I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit bored of it. And maybe I don't remember all of those thousands of years, perhaps. Maybe I only feel like I've been here in this reality. Well, let's go up this lane. Let's see how this goes. Ooh, this works out well. Maybe, like in my case, I wouldn't mind, like I like where I am, and I'm enjoying this dream now. This year's gone well because I feel like I'm shaping my own dream. I'm shaping my own reality. And even though like a lot of other people are going through pain and misery, and it's terrible, and everything's seems like it's falling apart, maybe there's a purpose, maybe it has a good ending and we just can't see it yet. I don't know. Or maybe you're putting yourself through misery, or maybe the machine is putting you through misery, or whatever. But for me, I decided at the beginning of the year, my New Year's resolution, I've got these things in mind, blah, 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 blah. And I said to myself very clearly, it's my year, I'm in control, I am going to have a good year, and I've got certain clear defined goals in mind. Some of them are very, physical, very, I don't know, some of them have more value than others. Half of my goals magically materialized. So basically they, what's the word? They, what's the word? The secret, anyway, you know what I mean? Like when you think of something and then it happens when you want it to happen, and then just miraculously happens. I've just had those sort of goals in the back of my subconscious without even thinking about them every day. I've been doing other things and achieving other things, and just sitting back and relaxing and watching the world and just enjoying my dream, enjoying my life in this world this year. But those things, half of what I wanted, just magically happened without really consciously like focusing on it. It just sort of happened, and they to an outside perspective, to others they may seem very circumstantial or very like coincidental, and you could say, oh, that's because the government did this, or because that person did that, and you were just lucky because of this. But like I had those ideas in mind, and I planted those seeds. I watered those plants every now and again in my mind, in my dream, and they just flourished. And they didn't happen perhaps in the way that I had expected, but certain things that I struggled with for years just didn't become, just weren't that difficult this year. Some problems, they just solve themselves, and there's some other problems that haven't solved, and I haven't put in any effort, and I haven't even thought about it, and maybe I need to start doing those things now. But yeah, like some of the things happen. What am I trying to say here? The reason I got into this was that why don't we it feels like I was going to say something like, I like the world that I'm living in, I like the dream that I'm experiencing now, if you can call it a dream, and I'm enjoying that. But at the same time, what I want to see is, like, I want to be in two worlds at once. Is that too much to ask? Like, I'm enjoying this dream, I'm enjoying this reality, and I like to see things twist and bend. But what I want to see at the same time is I want to see evidence of the fact that this world is not real. I want to see the unexplainable things. I want to be the programmer, and I want to go in there with my hand, my invisible hand, that's not my physical hand, but like some part of me that I can't remember, but I know it's there somewhere, and I want to wake that part up and go, hey, bing, 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 and press the buttons in the program and make things happen, and tune up the system. And I want to bring a bit of magic into the world without freaking people out. I want to, like, you can't, if people are dreaming, you can't wake them up from a dream. Well, you can, but it's not a good idea necessarily. If someone's sleepwalking, they think they're in a dream. As far as they know, they're in the dream. They're not aware of anything else, but they're sleepwalking, and they're just literally walking around. And I was a young child, and there's like one of my siblings was walking around, And I'm like, what on earth is going on? And my mum's like, don't disturb. That person is sleepwalking. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, my mum's like, that person's asleep, but they're walking around somehow. So never wake up a person who's sleepwalking. Like, never ever wake up a person who's sleepwalking. It causes too much damage. Like, it freaks them out. Like, it's just not a good thing. Like, don't wake up someone who's sleepwalking. I'm like, okay, I will never wake up anyone who's sleepwalking. But what if 99% of the people in this world are sleepwalking? I'm not going to wake them up, but why can't I go into their dream and give them a flower, give them a rose? Why can't I make their dream more interesting? Without waking them up, I can just guide them across, take them back to bed, lie them down, and put them back in bed, and let them just keep continuing with their dream, but maybe make their dream a little bit more pleasant, or something, or maybe I don't even bother. Maybe they just do what they need to do. Maybe I need to do what I need to do. I don't know, whatever. But whatever. I've run out of ideas. I've talked for like an hour and 20 minutes now. Maybe you've seen another side of me now that you hadn't seen before, or heard another side of me. I don't know. Maybe what you heard today is just the me that you're always familiar with. Whatever. Let me know. What do you think? If you have any thoughts. Has this been too long? Is this 1 hour, 20 minute thing alright? Alright, I'm going to go now. Bye.